So let's talk about the prosecution's case because they laid it out. They have it out for this man, and they posed a very good argument. We know about the witnesses. We know about the 7 weeks of testimony. We know about them denying him bail, like his freedom during the hearing because they said that he was a flight risk. The prosecution wanted him to show up in his prison blues or orange or whatever color they wear over at the facility here in New York. So they said after the 7-week trial was concluded, today is about accountability and justice. The attorney, hair pulled back, very stern. So she says Diddy's crimes over the past 15 years were not about currency. They were about control. So the prosecution they want 135 months about this man. That's 11 years plus 5 years probation, which the law max is about 20 years for the crimes. And by now you've all seen the headlines. You know what he has and has not been convicted of. You know the outcome of this case, or it depends on what time I upload it. You might or might not know the outcome, but perhaps we'll come and talk about how we feel about the outcome after this. So the prosecution, if you've never been to court, I suggest everybody, when they ask you to come to jury duty, I suggest that you do it. Just one time, just go to jury duty. I've done my jury duty. I've got kicked off a jury one time because they thought I would be biased because some landlord, what do you call him? Some slumlord didn't want to fix up a building, so he hired some immigrants to come in and do it. One of the immigrants fell through the floor because it had a poor foundation. He was unable to work for the rest of his life, and they didn't want to pay this man. So I thought that was a travesty. Pay the man whatever, and they didn't want to pay him because he was in the country illegally. Okay, anyway. But if you get a chance to go to jury duty, because when you go to court, if you ever are about to be prosecuted, you are going to be judged by a jury of your peers. And guess who typically does not try to get out of jury duty? It's not people that have jobs. Your peers are working right now. They're taking care of their kids. They can't afford to get that $15 a day because it's all they pay you when you do jury duty. So they're going to try their best to get out of it or avoid it. I had to go because they sent a warrant over to me. So I was like, okay, girl, I'm going to come and serve your little funky jury. But you're not really getting judged by your peers. So if you have the opportunity, sit on a jury. If you can afford to take the time off work, or you have the time, just sit on it just to see and understand how the legal process goes. I don't think any of us are immune from having a bad moment and being like, oh my God, we're on the other side of the walls. So Naja, get back to the point. So the prosecution wants 135 months up out of Diddy. They want him to do every single day of 135 months. They want the maximum. And so then for the next 40 minutes, and y'all, this is where I didn't have coffee this morning. This is where it gets kind of, they cited precedents over other cases. So they told about other cases that had been tried in New York City, similar to what Diddy is accused of, and said, hey, judge, we recommend this sentencing because this person that did the same thing got this. That's called a precedent. A lot of times they'll talk about that in law. So they mentioned the graphic abuse a lot. And Cassie, who they call Miss Ventura, she did a lot for the prosecution. She really was the one that almost that knocked this thing out of the park. They mentioned her name a lot. So they talked about his graphic abuse, how he refused Jane Doe. He refused her to use a condom with an escort. He drugged Cassie while having sex with an escort. He kicked, punched, and slapped. He urinated and somebody urinated in somebody's mouth. He forced the women to have sexual acts with escorts until she vomited. They talked about Cassie's assault repeatedly, and they did that to establish the pattern of violence. The court's psychologist noted that Diddy did exhibit remorse, but they kind of just left it at that. They left it open-ended. Like, is he capable of showing sympathy, empathy, and remorse? Is he truly sorry? They left it open-ended, which was a great tactic of the prosecution. I would do that if I was trying to get somebody locked up for 135 years. The prosecution said he was not taking these proceedings seriously. They said this man thinks it's a joke. You're supposed to make you prosecuting somebody, you're supposed to make them look like the worst person in the world. We've seen the videos of him assaulting people. We've heard all of the stories from disgruntled former label mates or people that feel that he didn't do right by them. Like, we've seen all the stories. We know the reputation. So the defense, I was like, how are they going to make this man they dragged Diddy and they didn't even drag him. I'm going to say this. They didn't drag him as hard as they could have, considering all of the other things. I think the prosecutor wasted a lot of the court's time talking about legal precedent, trying to get him to get a higher sentence that the other dude did, because the judge, very smart fella, he was able to cite the case. He was like, well, wait a minute. But in that case, that particular defendant was also a felon, and he had also been convicted and served time in another country for this same case. And the prosecutor was like, oh, well, okay, I mean, yeah. So I think the prosecution could have spent more time on his character. They really could have done that if they wanted to have a home run. I feel like they took it light on him. I don't know why. Maybe they just didn't have a great day in court, or maybe there's something behind that. I've seen a prosecutor, and not in this case, but I have literally been in court with clients, and I've seen the two attorneys from the opposing sides go out in the hallway and make a handshake deal. So I don't know, y'all. I'm not saying, alleging, or anything that this happened in this case. Seen it happen in another case, so I saw it with my own eyes. All right, so let's talk about the defense. Oh,